All right, guys, here on the program, I'm very, very excited to have a man on the show that caused quite a stir over the weekend when he beat Jacare in a very, very brutal fashion. Of course, he is Robert Whittaker, and he is joining us here on Submission Radio. Rob, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's always a pleasure.
The pleasure is all ours, especially coming off such a big win. Paint the picture for us, Rob. Whereabouts are you right now? Where are we speaking to you from?
I'm in Kansas City Airport, happily making my way home.
You're at Kansas, so you're going to go home now. How are you preparing for this 40-hour brutal flight? What's the game plan here?
I don't know. Just suffer like everyone else. There's no secret.
Are you the kind of guy that gets a good sleep over the flight, or do you have sort of 14 hours of inboard entertainment, or are you just going to be raiding that snack cart?
Oh, no. Well, I'm going to be absolutely raiding the snack cart. But, I'm going to be absolutely thrashed by the time I get to Sydney.
Most important question, is it a United flight? And are you prepared for them to potentially try and take your seat away from you?
Yes, it is a United flight. But luckily I have one of my coaches here, Fabricio, who can, hopefully defend them against what's from me.
Yeah.
Well, that would be sweet, sweet justice. And just a tip there, Rob, because me and Cass, we'll go over to cover the fights quite often. There's a little area near the toilet where they put all the extra snacks. Just maybe wander in there and slowly sneak them away, like in Shawshank Redemption when he was breaking down his fence, and then he'd throw out the remainder of it into the yard. That way, everybody can get fed. I think I'm still eating some of the food from last time me and Casper went over there to cover the UFC. So don't worry, there's plenty of food for the family if you want to bring him back with you. But let's quickly get into the craziness that was Kansas City over the weekend. I mean, it was a huge, huge fight. And part of me thought, hey, this is going to be a headlining fight probably here in Australia and New Zealand. But it did make its way onto the card over there in Kansas. I mean, what was it like fighting over there in Kansas? It was sort of a big deal for the UFC to be over there. Did you enjoy the process of fighting in the city?
Yeah, 100%. It's always a huge transit time. So I always come, about 10 days early to make sure that I have time to acclimatize and adjust myself to their times. And, it's an absolutely beautiful city. It was a great time being there, and the crowd was really receptive.
I know obviously you're in business mode, but did you get a chance to do anything else while you were in Kansas City, see any sights? Sometimes the UFC organized a bit of fun media at some of the local things. Did you get to see the city a bit much?
No, it's like I really am. I'm there strictly for business, so I feel doing anything other than business related before the fight is kind of disrespecting the fight itself. So I make sure that I'm only in my room, I'm bunkering down, I'm doing what I need to make weight and prepare myself for fight night.
Let's look about Jacare for a second. I mean, this is a guy that's been in the game for a really, really long time, a respected guy in the division, and a very, very tough test. I mean, a lot of people that didn't really know much about you thought, hey, this is going to be another Chris Camozzi type fight where Jacare goes in there and destroys his opponent. What was your interactions and experiences like with Jacare leading up to the fight? Did you guys have any nice moments together? Did you say anything to each other? Was there anything about the man that surprised you or stuck out to you?
Not really. He's a lot thicker than he looks. He always looks big on screen, but he doesn't quite look as thick until you're up in person with him. But our interactions were civil, man. I have a lot of respect for Jacare as a fan of the sport, and I'm a fan of his, and I was sad to see him lose on Saturday, but it is what it is. I went there to win. So, but I have nothing but respect for him.
It's funny hearing you say that it was sad seeing him lose, and yet, of course, like you were the one who handed him that loss. It's like you weren't just seeing him lose; you were the main culprit. You were the one that sort of did that. But I'm wondering, you've said this multiple times that you were a fan of Jacare. Any particular memories that stand out to you from his career that you remember? I mean, you're obviously a young guy. Do you remember at any point being a young guy watching some of his fights and going like, "Wow, there's a guy I really look up to"?
I think just collectively, the accumulation of all these fights together, making such a veteran of the sport, making such an icon of the middleweight division. He's always been there in the top five, and he's been a killer like his whole career.
And how do you sort of move past that point of looking up to him? Because we have seen some fights in the past where fighters fight their idols, and the fight isn't necessarily the greatest. It looks like they sort of, I don't know, can't really get out of the gear, and it looks like a bit of a sparring match. This obviously wasn't like that at all. How did you sort of move past that and put that to the side?
I know why I'm going there. I know why I was going to Kansas City. I know why I was getting into the octagon, and that was to fight Jacare. I came there with all intentions of fighting him, and I wasn't about to be starstruck when the moment came.
I mean, you've spoken about it a few times at the post-fight press conference, but I mean, for everybody listening at home, I guess the big moment in the fight was that first sort of grappling clinch exchange where you guys went back and forth and you were able to get up off the octagon. Talk to us sort of what was going through your head when that began, because I suppose that was the moment you and your coaches were preparing for a long time and sort of staying cool, using your technique and getting out of there. But while it was happening, what was going on in your mind? Because I imagine a lot of people would be sort of freaking out in that moment going, okay, I got to do this, otherwise things might go lopsided here.
I just had to do what I trained. I made sure I stayed calm. I made sure that I was doing what I needed to do. And it was very hard for me to, I wasn't even thinking really. It was all muscle memory. I had done months of training before that in bad situations, in good situations, and it's all muscle memory at that stage.
I mean, I guess the big question is, how do you do that? How do you have the ability to block that out? Because I think it might be one of the things that makes you so dangerous in the sport, the fact that you can go in there and you can flow through your techniques and use that muscle memory. Is it something that you had to train with your coaches, or is it just something that you remember having from a very young age where when you're in these pressure situations, you're just able to sort of do what you do?
Without a doubt, I think, I was born to fight, and I think I have certain instincts that are only in people who are born to fight. But I train a lot, man. I train day in, day out with my coaches, and we train religiously, staying calm, game plans, formulas. And, dude, like, if you train enough, anything will come second nature,
And obviously that training is something that gives you confidence. And you've never, even though you're a very humble guy, you've never been short on confidence. You've always displayed that belief. But, I mean, that moment when he goes for the takedown, he tries to get you in the clinch, he gets you to the ground, and then you pop straight back up. That's got to give you a bit of confidence, though, right? In the fight. Do you feel that in the fight? In the back of your mind, you're kind of like, wow, this is really, really going according to plan? Or are you not even thinking about that during the fight?
I'm not even thinking about that, to be honest. It's in the fight, it's just it's all reaction, instinct, muscle memory. There's no real emotion for me anyway. This is my personal take on it. There's no emotion. I'm not thinking, wow, good on me for getting back up. It's more just, I went down. I need to get back up. I need to keep it standing. It's kind of just driving on instinct at that point.
There was also that moment when you dropped him and then you got straight back up and you were having a bit of fun in there as well. You sort of waved your finger at him. What were you sort of saying to him? Did you mouth anything? And what was going through your mind at that moment?
Well, he tried waving me to come down on the ground. And there's no way in hell I'm going to engage Jacare on the ground. It's a silly move for me,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that the restraint that you showed and your game plan, I think it just earned even more respect for your camp and for yourself after this fight. Talk to us a little bit about what that moment was like when the referee waved you off when you had won the fight. I mean, the emotions must have flown in at that moment when you realized, hey, I've done this. And especially being so far away from home, being in Kansas City of all places when you achieve such a huge moment in your career.
Yeah, it's a funny feeling when you put months and months and weeks of work in and get the result you're after. It really is. So to be able to get that and get the finish and get the win, I was over the moon. I'm still kind of reeling over it at the moment.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel almost like your post-fight celebration was a little bit different. We've seen you many, many times here in Australia, and you're beating your chest hard, you're on the cage, you're almost going crazy. You seemed, I don't know, to me, almost a little bit more relaxed. When the win came, I don't know whether it was the fact that the Aussie crowd was there, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was tiredness, or maybe you just seemed a little bit more confident, almost as if you've sort of done this enough times, or it wasn't that crazy result that, I guess, overflowed you with emotion. You were a bit like, yeah, I expected this. Am I wrong, or am I sort of getting it there?
Well, yeah, I did. I put in all the work, and I really did work hard for this fight, man. And I think my performance showed that. I put in the work, but I can't discount when the Australian crowd gets behind me. I just go a bit nuts. I'm not ruling that out at all.
I mean, one of the most important things to you is your family, your wife, and your child. Talk to us a little bit about what that moment was like when you were actually able to jump on the phone and speak to her and sort of talk for the first time after that win. Was that an emotional time for you?
Yeah, you know, I'm just, yeah, it's hard to explain. I'm just, you know, she actually came with me. She came with me to Kansas City. She came in a bit late and just spent like 5 days with me. And her being there is one of my big supports, you know, because before, regardless of the result, I know she'll be there for me to look after me no matter what happens. And, you know, for me, it's how can I lose from that point, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing that you've obviously got some of that hometown support, and who better than the missus. I'm wondering, does she always come to your events, or is this the first time when she made the trip to America?
No, she always comes to my events. Whether the kids or not can make it is sometimes a bit hectic.
Yeah.
But the only fight she's actually missed was when she was too pregnant to fly.
Let's talk about the celebrations. I mean, we expected you to be all business in the fight week, but after you do something like that and the missus is there, we imagine you guys go all out on Kansas, have a few cheeky drinks, maybe, I don't know, go have a bit of a dance. What was the celebrations like for Robert Whittaker, his team, and his missus after that big win?
Yeah, the celebration was just, you know, just dressing up a bit. We went out, we got a bite to eat, and then just went back to the hotel room. We called our family, and yeah, we started packing, ready to go home and see our boys, you know.
The foodie in me has to ask, what did you eat? What was the post-fight celebration meal like? Are we talking like an In-N-Out burger? Or are we talking like lobster and steak?
We got Kansas City barbecue. It's, I found a love for cornbread that you know, I think will ruin food for me forever.
Oh wow, there you go. So Robert Whittaker staying in Kansas. We're never going to see you now that you've discovered barbecue. I'm wondering, did you get a chance to speak to Jacare after the fight? You were very, very respectful, and obviously you mentioned it means a lot to you. Kind of sad to see him lose. Did you speak to him after the fight backstage?
Yeah, I did. I saw him this morning, and you know, I wished him a good fight. He wished me a good fight. He said congratulations to me. We're very respectful of each other, and there's no animosity between us. We're both athletes. We know what the stakes are getting in there, and one person wins, one person loses. You know, another night he could have been me. Who knows? But yeah, last night was mine.
Yeah, with the cornbread, but watch out, Rob. We don't want you moving up another couple of weight divisions because of your addiction to cornbread. Believe us, that stuff stays on you and it's hard to get rid of. Let's talk about, before we jump onto what's next, and I know you're still everything's still sinking in. I want to bring up a moment with you. I remember when me and Casper were there at UFC Sydney. It was Bisping versus Rockhold. You were moving up from welterweight to middleweight when you fight with Clint Hester, and a lot of people thought this was going to be the end of Robert Whittaker. How can he move up from welterweight after losing at welterweight to middleweight and succeed? A lot of people thought that was going to be one of the last times we see it in the octagon, and now here you are in your middleweight campaign. Probably maybe one fight. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe even closer than that to a title shot. Can you sort of explain to the people listening at home who haven't really followed your journey, you know, what was that like, jumping up to middleweight and really having your back up against the fence and going from that moment to this moment here where you've become sort of, you know, one of the most looked up to names in the division?
Yeah, you know, it's I was in a bad way after getting my back-to-back losses in welterweight, and I needed to really reestablish who I was as a fighter and as a person. But you know, I did those things. I made the right calls. I surrounded myself with people that cared about me, and I knew I was always going to have to move to middleweight, and you know, just doing the right things has led me to where I am.
I'm curious. You say that you had to sort of change who you were as a person. What exactly do you mean by that?
I just like things that you do inside the octagon affect things on the outside and vice versa. And, you know, you just got to get your priorities in straight.
Okay, gotcha. Well, as far as this fight goes, I mean, not only did you beat Jacare in brutal fashion, but you did it faster and more dominant than two guys that are currently ranked above you in Yoel Romero and Luke Rockhold. How do you feel about that, knowing that these guys have sort of been staples of the division, talked about as contenders for a long time, and in a big way, you've essentially one-upped them?
I want that belt. You know, I'm going for that belt. This is my run, and I'm going to tear through anyone that gets in the way.
I mean, I know you've already heard about this. We saw you sort of learned about it for the first time at the post-fight press conference. But this call out from Luke Rockhold, I mean, he's looking to possibly fight you next. I guess he sees you now as a big sort of road back to a title shot. Where are you at with that fight? Are you interested in fighting Luke Rockhold? Or are you at a position at the moment where you just want to see what happens with Bisping and GSP?
The only thing I want to do right now is I want to go home and see my boys. I'm not even thinking about fighting right now. I literally just finished one. I'm not thinking, like, fighting isn't everything to me. I want to go see my family. I want to go spend time with my kids. And then I'll sit down and I'll sit with my coaches and we'll make the next plan. I don't plan too much at the moment. I just finished the fight. I got to go see my family first.
Is it kind of funny that when I spoke about back in that memory when it was Luke Rockhold versus Michael Bisping in the main event, and you were making your jump to the middleweight division, and people were like, this guy's not going to make it, and now these guys are trying to get a fight with you, to get it to the title shot. How does that feel all these years later?
Yeah, it's funny, but life's funny. Things work in mysterious ways sometimes, and yeah.
And the other crazy thing is that obviously Michael Bisping, you were supposed to fight him at UFC 193. That didn't happen. You ended up fighting Uriah Hall instead. How important is it for you to sort of fight him? And are you kind of sentimental in that sense that you'd like to get that fight back and beat him for the belt? Or are you sort of at a point where you don't really care who holds the belt? As long as you win the title, you're happy with that?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm hunting for the belt more than anything. He's holding the belt at the moment, and he owes me a fight. That works in my favor. And if that's how I get that's how I get a crack at the belt. That's what I want. But I'm hunting that belt. Let's not be confused.
Yeah. So I mean, a couple more questions, Rob, and we'll let you go because we know you're in a rush. That belt is in a funny situation right now, and God, I mean, timing wise, a lot of people could say it couldn't be a worse time to sort of be up the top of the middleweight division. So the UFC looks like they're going to be doing this fight between GSP and Bisping, but no date has been set. It looks like it's going to be towards the end of the year. And then if GSP beats Bisping, which, there's a good chance of that happening, it doesn't even look like GSP looks to defend his title. He just wants to use it as a way to build up his sort of name and go to other divisions and sort of hold a few titles at once. So knowing what we know, and this is sort of the public knowledge that we all understand right now, mentally, is that kind of frustrating? Because it looks like the belt is going to be, even though it's one fight away, it looks like this belt is going to be tied up for quite some time.
I haven't given it much thought. I don't really think about the machinations of the UFC or their plans and plots to move the belt around or the plans for the athletes. Like what the athletes are planning for the belt and how they're going to move it around. I'm doing my thing. I'm on my journey, and eventually the belt will just fall in my lap. Trust me.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Dana White, he's big on you. He's been watching you for a long time. When we spoke to him, we spoke to him about you. When he speaks to people after your fights, he always puts you over, talks about how much he likes you. Did you get a chance to speak to him at all after your fight? And if so, did he say anything promising to you?
No, I spoke to him. He said congratulations. He's a nice guy. He come up to me and congratulated me for an awesome fight. And I've put the division on notice, and I look forward to things in the future.
Mm-hmm. And speaking on that future, obviously you're reveling in the win. You're going to take some time to sort of celebrate, enjoy it. More importantly, spend time with the family. But I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask, because obviously everybody sort of wants to know. We don't know what will happen with this Rockhold fight, but if the UFC does say, look, Rob, we want you on International Fight Week, I believe July 8th, is that enough time for you to prepare? If they really made it worth your while and you made that decision with the family that I'm going to go for it, is it enough time for you to prepare for a guy like Rockhold?
I'm where I'm at right now, I'm ready to fight absolutely anyone. But, like I said, I didn't even give it another thought. Someone else had to tell me that he actually asked for it. I got no idea what's going on. I just want to see my family first.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious, if I may, and this is going to be one of the last questions, if not the last, what do you think that will sort of depend on when you make that decision, when to fight, who to fight next, and things like that? What would you sort of weigh into that, decision?
Well, my decision is made. I want that belt.
Mm-hmm.
So all my intentions are leading me towards that singular goal.
Is there a chance you sit out and wait for the winner as opposed to fighting someone in the meantime? Do you feel like you've sort of earned it now that you're on this massive streak?
Who knows? If these decisions aren't mine alone to make, I make these decisions with my coaching staff and all that. And yeah, whatever happens, happens. So it's fun.
Rob, we'll let you go. Last question. I mean, one of the things that people talk about you, I mean, I've seen this in the comment section of a lot of your videos and your interviews, is the fact that you're a humble guy. You're a very, very humble guy. You don't like to talk shit. You like to, hold yourself at a high level, and you feel like you're representing Australia and New Zealand. Talk to us a little bit about your mindset of, I suppose, being a role model for people and sort of staying respectful and very modest in your interviews, because I mean, I think for a lot of Americans, especially with what's going on right now in MMA, it's sort of something new, and it's opposite to sort of the Conor McGregor effect that we're seeing happening with the division and the whole sport in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, I'm just being me, really. I think you got to be respectful of your opponent. You have to show respect. I think respect is key to competition, and staying humble, you got to, I go through the front door like everyone else. I wait in line for my order like everyone else. I'm no one special. I'm just good at a particular skill set, that thankfully people can appreciate. As for being a role model, I think you need to lead by example. I think it's hard to call yourself a role model if you're smack talking every second person and you're trying to, put on a mask just to sell tickets. But at the end of the day, I'm just being me, and I always strive to make Australia proud and New Zealand proud whenever I get in there and I put on a performance, and hopefully I'm doing that, and that's all I've ever wanted with my career.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're all very, very proud. I mean, you've earned it. This is just an unbelievable experience. Congratulations again. Enjoy your family. Guys, Robert Whittaker, you can follow him on Twitter. Make sure you do. RJ Whittaker 9090. Who knows? Maybe you'll get an opportunity to play some video games with him. There's a lot to the man that you don't know yet, so make sure to follow him, especially if you're outside Australia and this is the first time that you've seen him dominate, because he's been doing it for a long, long time. Rob, best of luck on the flight. If there's some problems, hope you and the coaches can handle it. And we can't wait to see what's next, mate. Have a great time with your family and a great flight. It's a real honor for us to have you on the program. Congratulations once again.
Thanks so much, buddy. It's always a pleasure to be here.